Several varieties of eucalyptus trees here at Clounsnaghta. I've got flower buds. These are Eucalyptus subcrenulata, and this one at the end has got lots of flower buds. Fantastic. I detailed the flower buds on this Eucalyptus nitens 2 or 3 videos ago. These are Eucalyptus perenniana, one of my favourites so far as aesthetics are concerned. Just beautiful coloration in the leaves. And these too have flower buds. Quite a lot of them. Fabulous. Really pleased. It's definitely winter, and during the past week or so we've had a couple of stormy nights. It's been fine when I've woken up in the morning, 7 o'clock, though I've also woken up at 1 a.m, 2 a.m. to torrential rain and strong winds. A couple of videos ago I mentioned, or one video, the video was specifically about eucalyptus drying up boggy ground. So in that video I said when I planted these nitens, the ground was so saturated that within a minute or so the holes that I'd made to plant the eucalyptus were brimming with water. So just in passing here, despite all the rain, and it has been torrential, and that's on top of the rain that we've had all summer, the ground here is reasonably dry. It's astonishing. My best Eucalyptus viminalis has had flower buds for probably the last 2.5 years. It produces small white flowers, and I actually think I'm going to get some seed from this year. Definitely several of these capsules look as though they're going to be ripe and produce seed. Viable seed, I hope. I'm pretty sure this is a Eucalyptus Dalry empliana. If anybody knows different, then just let me know in the comments. And like the viminalis, this has been producing flowers, small white flowers and flower buds for probably a couple of years. I don't see any actual seed capsules yet, but certainly it's been prolific at producing flower buds. So fingers crossed for some viable seed, because eucalyptus seed is becoming quite scarce. So with that in mind, I've started letting all of these gunnii grow. So fingers crossed they start producing seed. One of them has already, or certainly seed buds, or should I say flower buds, and hopefully seed capsules next year. Not sure if you can make that out. It's probably a better angle for the light, but yeah, fingers crossed for being able to harvest my own next generation indigenous seed. And this is the real deal, next generation indigenous seed. And this was given to me by a particularly supportive customer. So I'm going to have a go at germinating these seeds, and I'll definitely be sending them up a lot of free eucalyptus for them to do as they please with. So fingers crossed these germinate. So as you can see, lots of seed capsules on the top, and I've been a bit lax when it comes to sowing this seed. The kind gentleman gave me this sweetie tin full of next generation indigenous seed probably a couple of years ago now. So it might not be a bad thing, because I don't remember all this seed in the bottom of the tin here. I just remember the seed capsules, so naturally drying them out might have been a good idea. I'm calling these next generation indigenous seed, and I'm very keen to see how it does, because speaking to a few other people, one in particular was they were growing garlic, and they said that one particular variety didn't do particularly well here in Ireland, but the seed they got off it was fabulous. It really coped with the growing conditions in their particular locale much more resiliently and much more ably. So I am very keen to see how this goes. I'm going to sow a couple of trays. One tray I'll stick in the fridge to stratify for 4 weeks, and the other tray I'll just stick straight out, water it and stick it straight out into an environment of around 10-14 degrees C. I'm not sure I actually need to sieve this out. I'll probably just pick the seeds out the bottom as is. Anyway, let's see what happens if I do sieve them out. Okay, so quite a good haul, if I may say so myself. Let's just see exactly how much this weighs. Quite a lot of chaff in there, but there's definitely a lot of seeds as well. It's like weighing gold. Okay, almost 30 grams. So, and this is a figure off the top of my head. In fact, it won't be a figure off the top of my head. I'll go and look up how much 30 grams, how much I paid for 30 grams of seed. It will be 25 grams of seed, I'll round it up, when I first started doing this. And you can judge just how valuable these eucalyptus seed are. So if you've got any groves of eucalyptus growing, then do collect the seed. It's valuable. So, one seed tray that I'll stratify, and I'm meticulous when it comes to labelling eucalyptus now. Some of the varieties can look quite similar. Well, that's perhaps not true actually. I'd be pretty reasonable at distinguishing several of the varieties now, though no harm in labelling everything. Galway NG, Galway Next Generation. And I'm a pretty slick operation now. And also a pretty consistent operation. I'm going to sow these quite thickly. So fingers crossed a bumper harvest, but I have got absolutely no idea how this is going to work out. Whether I'll even get one eucalyptus to germinate from this batch. But I guess we'll know in around 6 to 8 weeks. This is just normal tap water, though it's been left to stand for quite a while, so most of the volatile chemicals, chlorine, etc., should have evaporated off. At this time of year they don't tend to put a lot of chemicals in the water here. It's a group water scheme. During the summer when they're spraying slurry, then it absolutely stinks of chlorine. And at this stage of the process, an absolute good soaking. And one of them in the fridge for stratifying. I'll give it 4 weeks in the fridge, I think. Not sure how this footage will come out. It's very bright with the grow lights. The other one just straight in here into the grow room. And temperatures around 13 degrees C at the moment. And I'd say from looking at the temperature curves at the moment, we're getting between 6 and 15 in this room. What I'd say about germinating eucalyptus is I've bought seed, and the seed companies, one seed company in particular, tried to suggest, oh, get back to me and get back to us in 2 months' time. It takes 2 months to germinate. That's definitely not been my experience. If they're going to germinate, once they're out in proper conditions, then they'll do so within a couple of weeks. So these Gregsonii, these were stratifying in the fridge for probably 6-8 weeks probably. And yeah, nice. They're still germinating, but as I say, within a week to 2 weeks they started germinating. Camphora, as you can see, prolific. These again were in stratification for around 8 weeks. And one thing to note here is they're not on a heated base or having a high temperature to get them to germinate. And that's especially so of some varieties. I really struggled to get Perenniana to germinate, and the reason was I was applying too high a temperature. Astonishingly, when I left them in the fridge to stratify one batch for over 3 months, they started growing in the fridge. So too high a temperature for some eucalyptus varieties can be detrimental. These are Pulverulenta. I'm hoping to have pretty reasonable stock of all varieties a lot earlier on in the season next year. And yeah, good germination rate from these Pulverulenta. Next along are cherry. This would be my substitute for Gunnii. In many ways, I think our cherry are hardier and more attractive, so definitely one to consider. And onto the heated base here. These are Glossines and they haven't germinated. I think the mistake or what went wrong here was they dried out. The seeds were initially wet and then they dried out, so I think this is dead. I'll sow more Glossine seed on top of these and stick them in the fridge again. So fingers crossed, maybe it's just they needed a bit longer in stratification, though my feeling is they dried out in the fridge. And going on from my slug, I wouldn't say slug experiment, slug deterrent measures. I'm not going to be using the beer method in future. I think the salt is going to be fine for me. I'll take one commenter up on their suggestion of mixing up the brine solution with hot water, and I'll get a more concentrated solution. And I think I'll just spray all the woodwork in the polytunnels with a good brine solution. These are globulous and these didn't get stratified at all. I put them out just at normal temperature for around a week, 2 weeks maybe, before putting them onto the heated base. So fingers crossed for a decent crop of globulus. Quite enthusiastic about globulus, though they're not particularly hardy. These are ovata, and this is only about the third or fourth day out, so yet to see these germinating. I'll keep you posted. Thanks a mil for watching. Good luck.